So I just recently turned 25, and I've always, literally always, like I've been waiting for this birthday for a while now, and I've always wanted to do one of these 25 things I've learned by the age of 25 videos, and so this is one of those videos. And lesson number one that I've learned is that nothing is permanent. This relates to everything, literally everything. Nothing is permanent. Um, Feelings aren't permanent, friends aren't permanent, your living situation isn't permanent. Anything that's good for you isn't permanent. Anything that's bad for you, excuse me, isn't permanent. Everything comes and goes. Um, you might have heard, or if you've read any Eastern philosophy, you might have come across the idea of impermanence, and kind of like one of those Buddhist teachings of just the state of everything is, impermanence. Um, so yeah, just know that nothing is going to last forever. And I like to give a reason for why, I choose certain life lessons because, it's not enough to just know something. Sometimes you got to get an idea of why you get this information, this knowledge. Um, and the reason this one is really important to me is because there's going to be instances in your life where you are going to be going through some really amazing things. Like, life is going to be fucking awesome for you. And in those amazing times, it can be really easy uh, to become complacent. It can be really easy to um, it's just, we humans, we're just not really the best at we're just not as good at long-term planning as we think we are, or long-term predictions and things like that. It's an art, it's a math. So just recognize that nothing is permanent. There's also going to be really bad situations that you're going to be going through. Like, there's going to be some like terrible situations, like shit that's going to make you feel like you just want to give up on life. And it's just important to know that your best days and your worst days won't last forever. They just won't. And that's all there is to it. A lot of the things I'm going to list here, they're not necessarily good or bad. They're not necessarily moral or amoral. They're not necessarily positive or negative. It's really just all how you take it. So yeah, nothing's permanent. Following that is something else I've learned by 25 is how to embrace change, but critically. So because nothing is permanent, it would do you well to learn to embrace changes and differences. Life is just better that way. We all know those people, and if you don't, you eventually will, who it just seems like whenever they just seem stuck in certain mind frames, certain thoughts. They want you to kind of remain in a certain narrow, predefined box that they've placed you in. And you're gonna have people in your life who celebrate your changes, and then you're gonna have people in your life who demonize, who try to that just have issues with you changing. They just haven't learned to, or and actually that's gonna be another life lesson, but they're just not exercising the skill of embracing change or just accepting change. That's what it really comes down to. And you don't want to be one of those people, because nothing lasts forever. Nothing is permanent. Everything changes, and it will change. Everything will change. Change just happens. It's just the natural state of things. With that being said, though, it's important to embrace and accept differences critically. And what I mean by that is there's going to be changes all around you in terms of your friend groups, in terms of policies, in terms of legal and economic, and just in a whole host of fields. Um, and it would really do you well, it would really benefit you to begin developing more of an analytical or critical eye to these changes, because um, if you know that nothing is permanent, and if you know that that change is always going to come, a change is always going to come, like that song goes, being able to take notice of and just learning how to navigate changes, learning how to read them, learning uh, how to ride waves, uh, it'll just benefit you in life to be able to analyze the art of change critically, because change is always going to, if you know something is always going to happen, it just helps you it just benefits you to begin to pick up on those patterns. Like if you're every time you head to work, you know that you're always going to be in traffic, it would benefit you to always leave earlier, than you need to. Um, so yeah. A third thing that I learned by the age of 25 is this is Jumanji. A lot of times in life, you are going to be. The whole point, basically, Jumanji is a book that turned into a movie, and the whole premise of it is once you start playing this game called Jumanji, you are always going to be trapped into the game until you beat it. Like there's just you're never going to get out of the game until you beat it. You can, like in the movie, there's these characters who they start playing, and then the game starts making these changes and these effects on their life in the real world, and they freak out. One of them freaks out and just runs off, and because this character ran off and didn't, roll the dice and play the game, um, the other character they both got trapped in the game, but one of them literally got trapped in the game. And I know that movie just seems like this absurd little entertaining tale, but honestly, that's life. This is life. Life is Jumanji. You're just this character on a plane, and you don't necessarily know why you're here. Matter of fact, it's probably even a bit more difficult than Jumanji. You don't know why you're here. You don't necessarily have all the rules and things like that. Someone might give you some rules and instructions, but we'll get to that. But at the end of the day, you are just a character on a board, and there's no such thing as not playing. Whether you ignore the game or not, like that character did, she ignored it for years and years. Someone else had to come by and start playing the game, and they had to go find her and force her to play again, because the game, it wouldn't stop until it needed the original players. But basically in life, you are just not there's really no way to opt out of life unless you delete yourself. And due to our own special encoding, no one really wants to delete themselves, but that's the thing, just about this whole thing. Like, life is like Jumanji. You're in this game, and you're gonna have to play. Life's like Jumanji, you're gonna have to play. Which leads me to another point. The rules. All the rules are made up. All of them. All of them. Any rule you can think of is just made up. There's this when I was basically leaving organized religion and things like that, there's just this thing that I just kind of there's just this thought that I had, because it's like, a lot of the times people, and right now the thing is, well, organized religions are still really big, like Christianity, the Abrahamic faiths are like the most major religions right now in the 21st century. They still are the top ones, but there's a growing number of spiritualists. There's tons of spiritualists. There's tons of tarot card readers. There's tons of all these new age spiritualists or metaphysicists, and and these people will tell you that they have rules and that they know how to play the game of life, just like how the organized religion people will tell you that they have these rules and these are the instructions for life, and if you don't obey them, you're going to go to the bad place and suffer for eternity and XYZ. But I'm here to tell you what I know now, or what I know to be, or well, first of all, what I believe to be true. And this is just that all the rules are made up. You got to ask yourself, or just something that would really benefit you to ask yourself is, why on earth would the universe have the same morals as me? Like, what about the universe? Like, why would the universe give a shit about me? Why would it give a shit about, what I deem as right and wrong, what other people deem as right and wrong? I'm really big on observing reality. I'm really big on observing nature. And if you take a look at reality, and this is going to take me into another point of mine, but the reason I have this on here is because when you just take a look at any history book, if you take a look at go on a safari, if you look at Animal Planet or anything like that, you'll just see creatures, sentient creatures. They're sentient just like you. They are conscious just like you. But they live entirely differently. And it's very just egotistical. It's very just convenient to view yourself as the center of the universe, and it's very convenient to view these other creatures that you can't communicate with as being on a lesser or lower plane than you of understanding and of consciousness and of a host of other things. It's just all of these things. There's just all of these predetermined beliefs and rules that are extremely convenient for you, that you have to believe before you can believe, that the universe is working in your favor or working against you for X, Y, and Z reasons. And it's just, or that the universe holds these same rules or standards of conduct or living. When you look anywhere and everywhere, the rules of conduct, the fucking laws of nature even change depending on where you are in existence. So if the laws that govern this world change, this idea of, there being these rules that the universe just shares in common with specifically you and your period of time and all these other things, like, it's just it just would do you well to just question and think critically about that. This video isn't a video about telling you what to think or believe or how to think and believe. I'm 100% anti-organized religion. I don't want to make a religion. I'm not trying to tell anyone how to live their life and things like that. But In fact, I'm with this thing I've learned, about all the rules being made up. Um, I'm even going so far as to just, kind of take down the whole concept of an organized rule book and things like that. Um, but that's just something to keep in mind. Number 5. Let me turn off some more things. Another rule that I've learned by 25 is that there's value in hard work. Learn to embrace it. And this kind of ties into embracing differences and things like that. The reason why it ties in is because that whole idea of embracing differences critically, because that part is very important. Embracing change and differences critically, that critical part is very important. And the reason why I say that is because currently I'm living in an age where things like anti-work, things like softness, things like schools of thought that are all about um, that are just about relaxing, about relinquishing responsibility, that are just about relinquishing power, authority, responsibility, anything like that. These schools of thought are getting extremely popular right now. And you know what? And I am like, I'm a very just curious individual. Like it's all interesting to me. I want to learn about it. I want to read about it. I want to hear about it. I'm more than okay with seeing it and things like that. But if there's one thing I've learned in my 25 years of being alive, it's that there is value in hard work. Like if you can work hard, if you're hardworking, that is one of the biggest compliments you can ever receive, and that is one of the greatest virtues you can ever possess. This is just something I've learned in my life. Every time I've ever worked hard at something, it's paid off, and it's paid off in ways that it's still paying off to this day. I got really fit one time in my life, and I haven't been, working out that hard in a long time. But guess what? Years later, like it's just, you know, I'm not nearly still that fit. And matter of fact, you know, uh, I have to get back at it. But I've just watched the changes that my body have gone through. I just feel like my just having that work ethic to really take care of my health in certain aspects, it benefited me in quite a few ways. It's really weird, being my age and hearing so many people talk about this and that and third. And we're just getting out of a pandemic where people have been inside for practically 2 years straight. So there's that to account for. But even before then, that's the thing. When I was a teenager, I was listening to my peers, groan about their bodies and things like that. When I was a young, I'm still a young adult, but I mean like a young adult, like 19, 20, 21, I was just, gosh, sometimes talking to my friends, I would wonder, like, am I talking to an elderly person? Like, you know, there's value in hard work. I spent a lot of time in my youth studying a lot, reading a lot. That benefited me so much. Like when I think about, and this is what I mean by hard work, just it pays off for itself. Like when I think about everything in my life that I've ever, like, one of the most beneficial things that I've ever done in my life is have a work ethic. And one of the worst things that's ever happened in my life is losing that work ethic. Um, but the reason why I say that is because um, something that has opened many doors for me. It hasn't been my GPA. It hasn't been my the books on my shelf. It hasn't been um, my appearance. It hasn't been my nothing. It hasn't been my mind. Like none of it. It's literally just been, or not just been, but it's one of the key. players and opening doors and opportunity for me has been uh skills that I've gained from putting in work. Uh yeah, just when you put in work, there's always work is well, in physics, they define work as like energy. Point is, there's always a product from work. Work produces. Um, so when you put in work, there's always something that you're going to get back from it. And uh, now, I'm not saying that what you receive from the amount of work that you put in is always going to be proportional to that work. Like, if you put in 20 hours of something with this, that doesn't necessarily mean that, you get to relax 20 hours and, in a few weeks or things like that. No. Reward is proportional to value. It's not proportional to work. And this is kind of where the whole anti-work, I think, movement is getting its steam from, because people are realizing, hey, I'm working hard and I'm not, and I'm not getting the lifestyle that I think I deserve or XYZ, but reward is based on value. It's not based on work. You can work hard at something that isn't valuable, but yeah, it's just one of those things. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Hard work is sometimes its own reward, and it's great. Like, you should, if you don't have a work ethic right now, if you are someone who has never had a work ethic, it would behoove you to get one. And if you're someone who lost your work ethic, it would really behoove you to regain it. Another lesson that I've learned at 25 is that strangers are not going to be the biggest monsters in your life. When I was a little girl, teenager, I had an uncle, and sometimes when I was in my room, my uncle, he would call my name just at random. He would just go, Jill, and I'm just like, huh? And I would come to him, and he wouldn't say anything. He would just point at his TV. And when he would point at his TV, I would take a look, and it was always some news report about a girl that had gone missing. And like for years, while I was staying with these family members, every now and then, every few months, he would just randomly call me into his room, and I would take a look at the TV, and he wouldn't speak. He would just point at the TV, and then I knew, yes, the police report. And I'd have to sit there, and I would just have to sit there and just listen to the entire police report until the next, news story came on, and then I could go. And he meant well by that, I'm really thankful for him, doing that, because, honestly, this world is fucking crazy. And don't get me wrong, strangers can be, they can be predatory, they can be predators, they can be dangerous. But I gotta tell you, I'm 25 years old. The biggest monsters in my life, the people that have done the most to harm me, the people that have completely stabbed me in the back, the people that have caught me off guard and fucked me over, it has not been strangers. It's been my blood. It's been my friends. It's been my acquaintance. It's been people I know. Your biggest threats in life aren't going to be the people you don't know. It's going to be the people you know. And conversely, the biggest supporters in your life, unfortunately, may very well not be the people you know, but it's going to be the people you don't know. Like, it's backwards in that way. And it's really unfortunate. And this isn't going to be the case for everyone, but like in my case, unfortunately, the people that have done the most to set me back in life have been the people that I've called sister, brother, best friend, lover. These are the people that will do the most to harm you. These are the people that are going to do the most to hurt you. These are going to be the people that are the most dangerous to you. Um, yeah, that's just take it and take that to heart. Strangers aren't going to be the biggest monsters in your life. It really be your own blood. It really be your friends. It really be your lovers. Uh, on the topic of love, something else that I've learned by 25 is that, and I saw this somewhere else, and I really liked it because it's so. I've just come to realize just how true it is. But it is more important to support those that love you than the people that you love. And what that really means is you would benefit more from pouring back into the cups of people that are pouring into you instead of constantly pouring into other people's cups that you might want the attention of, or people that you love. It's important to love the people that love you, not the people that you love. um and that goes in a whole array of things. Once again, you might love, how it harkens back to that old point that I was just talking about. You might love your family, but if they're toxic as all shit, and you have friends that are doing more to support you, uh, more to keep you safe, more to motivate you and things like that, but you keep on, really focusing on your relationship with your family rather than relationship with these other people that are just um, that are really pouring into your glass. You might find that you might turn around, and that whole state of impermanence will take an effect in your life, and you will realize that, wow, the people that I've been supporting all this time, the people that I love all this time, they don't actually love me. And then you'll turn around and you'll see that the people that were loving you, they got hip to the game too. Like, man, I was loving this person, but they weren't loving me. Like, and then you'll turn around and there just won't be, you won't have that support anymore because you spend so much time pouring into the cups of the things that you loved instead of, pouring back into the things that love you. Always give back to what gives to you, because otherwise you might impermanence when impermanence hits, you know that there you might be, shit out of luck in certain forms of support. But once again, nothing lasts forever. Everything changes. You won't forever be, without any form of support or anything like that. Everyone has at least one person in their life. Everyone has someone. And that's a really important one. So that's why I have it here. And I hope you take that lesson to heart. Kind of in tandem with the whole all the rules are made up thing is the fact that no one knows what they're doing here. That's another lesson that I've learned by 25. Once you get this age, you finally start to, even before this age, because I'll be honest, this is something I've learned a minute ago, but something, something that we oftentimes do to our parents really is, they'll be superheroes. They're like all knowing, they're all wise. You want to please them. You just want to make them proud. So much of your identity is once again caught up in these people that have raised you and been with you and things like that. But and you want to take for and you want to take to heart the things that they tell you. But at the end of the day, no matter with how much conviction someone might tell you, is your why or is your purpose, or um, no matter with how much conviction someone might speak about their own life, uh, just know that everyone is just winging it. Literally everybody. Your parents just wung it when they were raising you, even if they planned for you. It doesn't matter. They wung it. They wung that shit. Um, your teachers are just winging it when they're teaching you. I swear to God, like they really aren't. That little notebook that they're holding has all the answers in it. Like they're just coming in and doing their work. When you're young, so much emphasis is put on, raising you. So you're like literally constantly in this state of being like the center of people's efforts. You're constantly at the center of people's efforts. You're constantly the center of people's attention. You're constantly, even if you're, even if you're a loner kid, at the end of the day, you're in school, you have a home, people are feeding you. You're just in this very dependent state, and you're in this kind of like incubator phase of your life. And while you're in that incubator phase, it just seems like everyone else just knows. It's like everyone is just moving along to this invisible hum that you can't hear, but everyone else can hear. And they're just all, it just, sometimes it can seem like everyone else just has all the answers, like they have everything together. But I'm here to tell you, like, they don't. None of them do. Um, and even when people do define their lives with certain things and ways, it's just because that's just something that they chose to do. Some days they question why it is that they went down the path they went down. Everyone has regrets. It doesn't matter. No one knows what they're doing here. Everyone, that, once again, that impermanence, feelings change about the decisions people have made. Like, it's just all, we're all just winging it. Everyone's winging it. No one knows what they're doing here. And I think it's important to know that, just so that you not only feel empowered to make changes in your life that are beneficial to you and to live this life on your terms, but also to use it as to keep it in your back pocket for whenever someone tries to, impose upon you ideas or uh, just ideas and things that seek to kind of strip you of your own autonomy and strip you of your own authority, because you have autonomy and you have authority. Um, Everyone to different degrees, but you have it. And anyone trying to tell you that they have the ultimate why, they're just trying to siphon you for your attention, your support, your energy. And speaking of that, um, that leads me to my next lesson that I've learned, and that is that attention is a currency. Attention is a currency. And your overlords, these people, everyone has an overlord as well. Everyone is, you're answering to somebody in your life. Attention is a currency. And because of this, the next thing that I've learned in life is that, and this is a saying that's older than me, but it's very true. And because of this, you should believe nothing you hear and half of what you see. Seriously. I know you've heard that expression before. It might even just sound like an expression, but no, take that shit literally. Literally believe nothing you hear and half of what you see. And that includes this video. Um, yeah. And we're going to break that down, because the whole believing nothing you hear thing is it's a way of just telling you to be skeptical. It's just a way of telling you to be critically thinking, skeptical. Whenever you hear something, don't just automatically assume that it's true. don't add truth value to anything you hear, and only add truth value to half of what you see, just half of it. Because, and the reason they say that is just because you want to, once again, just stay alert. You want to stay questioning. You want to question everything. Um, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you think that platforms like this, like YouTube, any social media site, whatever social media site is the next big thing, you know, things like first of all, yeah, anything where you don't have to pay for it. You know, people say if you're not paying for it, you're the product, and and that is very true because uh, your attention pays other people's bills, and who and what you give your attention to dictates the greater, not even just your reality, but the greater reality as well. Because everyone likes to sit there and, oh my God, like, I'm sorry, there's just so much Western hyper individualism that I have to navigate through because I'm Westerner and things like that. And people swear to God, you can, once again, it goes back to those spiritualists or those people that are part of an organized belief system. It's like, you can manifest anything. You can make whatever, you can make reality whatever you want it to be. And it's like, yeah, bitch, I'm sure the starving child in Africa um, would really like a sandwich right now. But instead, the universe is deciding to listen to Tom Brady so that he can win his Super Bowl. Like, like, and people, like, I swear to God, like, this, oh my goodness. Like, the amount of privilege, the amount of just, I don't know. I just honestly, I'm so surprised that manifestation has taken such a stronghold over society as of right now and currently, because it's just such a gross and oversimplified and privileged perspective on reality that I have so much criticism for. And I'm just going to go off on a tangent right quick. And I think that part of why, and I'm actually going to make another video on this, but part of why manifestation is growing, the cult of manifestation is growing, is because companies and corporations are getting better and better at, they're just getting better and better at mind reading. And by what I mean by mind reading is they are using psychology, mathematics, and algorithms and things like that in order to specifically curate not only what you see on a daily basis and what you hear on a daily basis, but even so much of what you experience on a daily basis. Like, these people are trying to um, corral people into certain slots and into certain um, communities of thought, communities of being, communities of expression. Just they're trying to pigeonhole everyone into certain communities so that they can get you to spend as much money, believe in whatever. Like, they're just trying to, they need, they just really like, and this is going to bring me to our next point. The corporations want to be God. Um, the government wants to be God. And if it can get you to believe in manifestation, all of that surveillance that they're doing on you, um, all of the data that they're gathering on you when you make purchases, when you comment, when you like, when you click on links, sites you visit, your blood pressure, everything about you, your race, your gender, all of that information about you, like, they are surveying you through so many different means. And if they can get you to believe that, you know, that if you think this and if you talk like that, this is what's gonna, then it can happen. You're not going to question, or you're not going to be alarmed at the fact that your privacy and the fact that you're being manipulated. Like, you're not going to be alarmed at mass manipulation and mass surveillance for corporate greed and gain. But that's just my little tinfoil um, tangent. My tinfoil tangent. I have those every now and then, but But yeah, uh, just want you to know, believe nothing you hear and half of what you see. Everything on the TV is done to get your attention. Everything outside of being in nature is meant to get your attention, and it wants your attention so that someone else can get rich. Um, Everything is about money. So much of so much of life is about money. Um, Not fundamentally, but but socially, in this world that we're living in. Um, the people, the powers that be, their moves are motivated by money. Everything is about money. Um, they don't care about you. They don't care about your family. They don't care about gays. They don't care about straights. They don't care about trans folks. They don't care about nothing. All of anything that you identify with, any of your identities, these mean absolutely nothing. They mean nothing, 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 nothing. Um, the language you speak, the culture you're from, any of your identities mean absolutely nothing. Everything apart from your sex, which is your role in reproduction, it doesn't matter what you look like. It's all about your role in reproduction. Um, Anything apart from your, biological reality, it has no basis in reality. Everything else is just a legal fiction. Everything else is just a construct. And these constructs that you've identified with, or these constructs that you've been, forced to identify with, or that people have imposed upon you, they they serve as a tool. And in previous, in yesteryears, the purpose was to, create, it was just to foster groupthink and a group identity, um, in order to, uh, protect or maintain power for, certain groups of people who just want to live a certain way. But in today's increasingly um, intertwined and increasingly, global, like just in the smaller world that we're living in, the uh, the purpose of these, ancient identities and things like that, their purpose is moving a bit more towards money. It's just about getting a buck, like, uh, it's just about, capitalism prying its way you know, into anything that it can. It's all about feeding the machine. And and that kind of brings me to my next point. Something that I've learned by 25, and it's something that I will never ever ever forget again. And that is that the government is not your friend. the I don't care what political part of the spectrum you're on. I don't care what you read in college. I don't care what happens. It would really, like, I think something that would really is really key for you to understand is that the government is not your friend, and you want to limit their power as much as is reasonable or that you can. And it's more important to limit the government's power than it is to limit the power of whatever little faction side group that they're throwing in your face as a distraction. Um, you want to limit the government's power. And I was, my little tinfoil tangent that I went on, like I said, the government wants to be God. It wants to be the next, these people that are in these offices, they want to be your rulers. They want absolute authority, and they want more and more authority. Like generation after generation, um, they've just been trying their best to, to it's just the world is constantly moving towards communism. It's constantly moving towards, that authoritarian kind of regime. And every generation we have to fight against that. It doesn't matter how good things seem. Something that is a logical fallacy is called a slippery slope fallacy. But here's a difference between a little side tangent, or I guess a little bonus lesson that you can a lesson that I've learned at 25 is how important it is to know the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge will tell you that the slippery slope fallacy is, or slippery slope arguments are a fallacy. Logically, yes, knowledge in terms of, cerebrally, that is true. But wisdom will tell you that this is a legitimate occurrence, like this is a legitimate issue or thing. Um, in my 25 years of living, I have watched as, communities, groups, ideas that started out with a certain noble cause, and then they became repurposed for what winds up being, a more bastardized or just a different cause and ideology. That's something that you might even disagree with, and this is going to happen to you in your lifetime. It just constantly keeps happening. I mean, once again, that's because there's just this perpetual um, push. There's these people that are in power and they want more and more power. There's always going to be power hungry people. And I'm actually making a video on the power playbook. But and these people will stop at nothing, and they're playing the long game. They are playing the long game. And this is a game that started thousands of years ago, and it goes on from country to country to country. And it's just something you always want to fight against, and it's something you always want to be aware of, no matter how good the times are. Remember, the government is not your friend. Limit their power. That should always, no matter where you are in the political spectrum, you should have that as your foundational start. And yeah, take that shit to heart, because just constantly ask yourself, does this limit the government's power, does it improve the government's power? Because people are always going to abuse power. They're just always going to. They're always going to exploit it. They're always going to abuse it. And the more power you give someone, the more dangerous they become. And on the topic of power, the next thing that I've learned by 25 is that knowledge is power. So you should learn as much as you can. Unfortunately, in my part of the world, the education you receive is dependent upon your income. And basically that just means, if you are rich, you're more likely going to receive a better education than if you're poor and things like that. And, this is just life. Life isn't fair. It's another thing I've learned at 25, another bonus one. So this is more like 27 things I've learned by 25, but but yeah, knowledge is power, and you should really take, I took my education so serious through K through 12. And I'm glad I did, because there's just so much downtime that you have as a child. And if you spend, well, first of all, you want to spend that time being a child, and you have basically as a child, you have the opportunity to be a kid and learn as much as possible without compromising anything, because so much of your waking life isn't spent surviving. And by surviving, I mean going to work and providing your basic needs. Just having that done for you just frees up so much time. You can have a social life and study. It's okay. Like there's nothing. Once work comes in a picture, it all goes to shit. So I'm really fortunate in that I was able to capitalize off of that. And it's done me well, and it will do you well. No matter what you do, you should always be learning. Knowledge is power. Question it. Learn as much as you can. Yeah, that's all I can say. Study, study, study. Take your studies seriously. Study critically. Study analytically. Analyze what you're learning. And whenever they have those little side tangents, like maybe in your history book, you're learning about the about what influenced America's, economic system, and then you learn about the guiding, and then they mention something like the guiding hand by Locke, in the history book. You're like, huh, I wonder what that's about. And then you go to a library, you check it out, and you read the whole thing. Like, take those side quests in your education. Be curious, be insatiably curious, learn as much as you can, because the time to learn is always going to be there. But when you're older, there's just going to be so much of your time and energy spent um, surviving, spent working, and spent healing from the bullshit that you went through, in the first, you know, 2 decades of your life. That you're just not going to have as much energy or time to spend um, on learning, but you really should. And that kind of leads me to my next point of you will lose what you do not use. It doesn't matter if you were. This is something that I've seen like online and things like that. People are always talking about, oh, if you were a gifted kid and now you suffer from chronic depression, and you're sad and you want to help the world, but you don't know. Like, it's just this one little funny joke about people who were smart and during the school system, but then when they get out, they're a mess. It's just like you had that structure, you had that influence, you had that foundation, you were in an environment where everyone was working towards more or less the same goal, and you just had so much structure. And in life there really is no structure. The only structure is the structure that you create. And if you do not um, create a structure for yourself, if you do not keep studying, if you do not keep learning, if you do not keep practicing, it doesn't matter if you were the best essay writer in high school or in college. If you stop writing, you're going to lose that skill. It doesn't matter if you were super well read and educated. Like, you're going to forget the things that you've read. You're going to forget the notes that you've taken. If you don't keep it up, if you don't revisit the lessons you've learned, you're going to forget them, and it'll be really unfortunate. And it's not fun watching, your skills, who you were, waste away. So really, you lose what you don't use. And that goes for so many things, including your, working out and stuff like that. Like, if you were in sports in school and then you stop once you got it. Everyone talks about, oh my God, when you become an adult, you get so fat, your metabolism slows down. And they just talk about it in terms of age. But in reality, the reason people get fatter as they get older, or the reason they have to, or feel the needs, like they have to eat less or things like that, or if they breathe, they're going to gain 10 pounds, is because older people lead more sedentary lifestyles. You didn't recognize it, but as a young person, you were extremely active. Um, and as an older person, you're just less active. And because you're using less energy, your body needs less energy. So that's the reason why it's so hard to um and once your metabolism changes, once it slows down, that didn't happen overnight. That took months, that took years. And so it took years for your body to get to where it's at now. And then you decide, okay, I'm going to work out. And then in 3 months, you aren't really noticing any changes. And in 6 months, maybe you did something, and in 6 months, you see changes. But then if you stop for 2 weeks, or if you stop for a month, all those gains you made are gone. And it's just like, it took you years to lose that level of energy expenditure. It's going to take you years to get it back. Like, your body has to become readjusted to working out being the norm. Before, activity was the norm, and in adulthood, activity stops being the norm. And your body is always going to adjust to that new normal. So, yeah, you lose what you don't use. So make sure you keep studying, keep working out, and keep practicing. Um, and on the topic of having structure, something else that I've learned by 25 is that discipline is the only friend that will care more about your well-being than you do. Um, there's nothing else in this. There's very few things in this world that are more beneficial to you than discipline. And this is another thing that's pretty common to, you know, or it's just a common thought that's going around in my age range, I guess, if not error. Um, and that is there are so many people, and I talked about this in a previous video, but there are so many people that don't know the value of discipline. They've never been physically disciplined, they've never been spiritually disciplined, they've never been academically disciplined, they've never been just they don't know discipline. um and let me go ahead and look up the definition for that. But yeah, discipline is defined as the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior, and making consequences in order to correct disobedience. But discipline is a beautiful, beautiful thing. It feels very stifling. It can feel like a punishment. Discipline can feel like a punishment. Discipline can feel like it's stifling you, like it's controlling you, like it can seem like it's just this thing that sucks. But in reality, um, discipline opens up so many doors for you, and it just makes life actually a lot better. And if you're someone who knew the beauty of discipline and you lost it, you should get it back. And if you're someone who's never known the beauty of discipline in any disregard, make that on your like put that at the top of your list of life priorities to know discipline. um because this world, once again, like I said, especially after, first of all, many kids are born without structure of any kind. But if you are lucky enough to have structure in your life, in your in your adolescence, once you get out of it, there is no structure. And just like how the muscles and the bones of people who travel to space where there's no gravity or there's no force that they have to perpetually resist against, and their body starts to get weaker because of that. When you're someone without discipline, or you're someone who's lost your discipline, um this world without structure that you're now newly inhabiting, it will make you weak, it will make you soft, it will just erode those it'll just erode the benefits that you've gained from having structure, uh, from having support, from having a strong core. And that's like the best thing about discipline is it gives you a strong foundation. Um, it gives you the ability to build a strong foundation. It just gives you something to support yourself on. So those days where, you know, because once again, this world is defined by impermanence, it's defined by change. And if you don't have discipline, if you don't have, a strong core structure, you will be rocked. Your shit's going to get rocked by this world, you know, and you're going to get to the end of your life and you're just like, man, what the fuck happened? And for some people, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, just for some people going with the flow, for some people, getting your shit rocked. Like, it's just all a part of living life. And whether you have discipline or not, your shit's going to get rocked. So, but discipline is just something that just, it's like this base, this home that you can just always go back to, whenever, life gets tough, and it's just, or whenever you want to make a change. Like, it's just, once again, like I said, it's perfect for a foundation. And with foundations, you can build upon them. Discipline just helps you get to next levels. You're going to want to level up in life at something. Everyone wants to level up at something, whether that is in fitness, whether that is in academics, whether that is financially, whether that is socially, whether that's in love, whether that's in writing or a hobby. Everyone has something that, interests them and that they want to, learn more about or do more of. And discipline is just one of those things that's just going to help you achieve that. And discipline is the foundation of achievement. And it's a beautiful thing. And yeah, you're gonna want that. That's like if you had to, if you're like life is a game and you need certain stats, hardworking and discipline, like those are the stats that you should kind of max out. Like max those out. And if you had them and you don't have them anymore, like just get back on the horse, um, and ride that shit because yeah, discipline and hard work, those are just two stats that those are just two key player stats that you want. Um, which kind of leads me to my next point, which is that, there's this fun expression that goes, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. But I want to switch it up a bit, The next thing that I've learned in life, at the age of 25 is that sometimes you get what you wish for, but most times you get what you work for. And yeah, that just kind of ties into that whole point of being hardworking and disciplined, because in this world, you dreams can come true, but in most instances, your life isn't like a Disney movie. You're not just gonna just be singing a song and stumbling along and everything is just gonna fall into your lap. Um, at least when it comes to a goal. That's another thing. The fundamentals of life, like, a house over your head, a job, love, food, these fundamentals, they're not exactly handed out or distributed evenly. For some people, these things are just going to be. There are certain jobs right now that you will not have access to because the person that job is reserved for hasn't even been born yet, or they've just been born, and their son or daughter is going to get that role. And it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter who you talk, it doesn't matter who you know, it doesn't matter. Nepotism and life isn't fair. But um, despite all of that, when it comes to your own personal goals and things like that, for the most part, you can achieve what for us, lower folks here, some regular folks in regular land, you get what you work for. Um, Whatever you give your attention to, whatever you give your effort to, that's what you get. Um, you trade your labor for certain results. And sometimes you can trade a wish, sometimes you can trade a kiss, sometimes you can trade a dream, but there's no guarantee with that. Or there's a much lower guarantee with that. Actually, yeah, let me take the word guarantee out of it in general. There is no guarantee with work nor dreams or wishes, but there's just a lower probability that you're going to get what you just wish for instead of getting what you're working for when it comes to chasing after those higher level needs and those higher goals that go beyond things like food, water, and a roof over your head. Um, Something else that I've learned in life by 25, and it kind of goes back to that whole idea I was talking about the limiting the power of the government. But it's not even just about the government. It's about people in general. Corporations are based off of, they're treated like human beings. And some human beings treat themselves like corporations. And so this next thing that I've learned uh, is important because just like how the government likes to mine you for information, in order to, manipulate you for labor, money, whatever, attention, people can do that too. And that's why I've learned that your privacy is one of your most valuable assets. Protect it. and you should remove anyone from your life or challenge anybody that pushes your boundaries. Um, One of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my life um, is having weak boundaries. Or one of the biggest setbacks I've ever had in life are weaker boundaries. And also just, kind of not like, almost in a sense, kind of not caring too much about my privacy with certain things, because I was on this idea of nobody's perfect. Everybody else is just like me. Um, I just had no shame. I was very shameless. And the reason I was so shameless is because I seriously didn't view anyone else as different from me. I was just like, everyone has the same thoughts, ideas, and everything else as me. Why should I be ashamed? So what is there to hide? What is there to, keep hidden? And one day when I was writing, I had my own little journal and things like that, and I was writing, I had once again some family members stumble upon my writings and things like that. And basically I had this whole, on my channel, you'll see other videos I'm talking about narcissism and all this other stuff. And the reason I'm doing that is because, well, I wound up sustaining not just narcissistic abuse, but a step above narcissistic abuse. Um, and that is because I didn't value my privacy. Um, I didn't protect my privacy as much as I should have, because, at that age, first, and it was family too. And I was just thinking to myself, like, whatever, like, what's the worst that could happen? But, once again, the monsters aren't outside of you. Aren't outside your camp. They're in your camp. And yeah, it's just, that can really, there's just people out here in this world who feel entitled to they feel entitled to your body. They feel entitled to your story. They feel entitled to everything about you. Like, they feel entitled. It doesn't matter what it is. They just feel entitled to you. And those people are fucking psychos. It doesn't matter how, it's kind of like, if you send somebody nudes and they show everyone else, those nudes and things like that, sure, they might not have murdered you. Sure, they might have not have, hit you. Sure, they might not have done, those things. But at the end of the day, they still did something that was pretty fucked up, and that will affect you forever. Or not for, well, yeah, it'll affect you. And things are impermanent. The situation won't always be as horrible as it feels at first, and X, Y, and Z. But just, your privacy is extremely valuable, and anyone that wants to invade it, anyone that's constantly trampling over your boundaries, these aren't your friends. These aren't One of the best ways you can tell if someone's a friend or not, or if someone has your best interest at heart or not, is how well they respect your boundaries. Yeah, no, people that are constantly trampling over your boundaries, they're just not, they don't really care for you like how you think they do. Something that will really, benefit you is to learn about things like codependency, to learn about, there's just some people that are just walking around with extreme levels of low self-esteem, and they are they're very lonely. They really don't have a life of their own. Like, you can check my previous videos. Like, it's literally these people, your life means so much to them because they really don't have one. And you really don't want these people, these lonely, these obsessive, these fucking creeps to have access to the things that you want to keep private, because they're just, these people, they know no bounds. They're disgusting. They're literally just disgusting human beings. And by not having privacy and not having strong boundaries, like, they look for that specifically because they want to be disgusting. Like, there's just some people that are just looking for excuses or looking for reasons. Most crime is a crime of opportunity. It's just people that are looking for opportunities to just validate their own existence by, by latching on to your existence. Like, they're leeches. They're like leeches. They just want to They stick to you because you supply them with meaning and feelings. And it's kind of like the whole parasocial relationships, when people sit there and they think that they actually know a celebrity, or think that they actually are friends with people that are online, like they literally feel this closeness to. There are just some people that feel close to you by having access to every aspect of you, even if you don't want it. Like there's there's just some pretty fucked up people out here in this world. And a lack of boundaries is a really great way to, get those fucked up people in your surroundings and in your camp. And it's disgusting. Like they're disgusting people. Every time you look at them, you're gonna feel disgust, and you don't want that. So yeah, that's once again, like if you had to max out stats in life, being a private person should be one of those stats you just max out all the way. Let's see. Another thing that I've learned at 25 is there is an explanation for everything. And this kind of ties into my whole point earlier about questioning everything and believing nothing you see, and rules being made up and no one knowing why they're here. There are people, or about the government trying to be God and things like that, but there are people who once again, these attention seekers, these people that really, these people that want to siphon you for your attention. They attention seekers, people that are codependent, people like that, they will stop at nothing to get what they want. Attention seekers will stop at nothing to get what they want. These and by attention seekers, I don't mean they want to draw attention to themselves. I mean they want to draw your attention to they just want your attention on whatever it is that they're talking about. Even to themselves is something as well. But these attention seekers, they will go so far as to try and manipulation, gaslighting, just a whole host of other dark psychological tactics. They will pull out the works, just to try and get you to make you. It's kind of like going to a magic show, and the magician's job is to convince everyone that that he has powers that they don't possess. When you go to a magic show, the whole point of the show is to wow you with by making you believe in the laws of nature and physics being something that the magician can bend. That there's something that the magician doesn't need to follow. And these people, there's just people in your life that are going to want you to believe that there is some magical or metaphysical explanation for something, or reason or get you to think that there's really no reason behind something except for the reason that they give you. And I just think it's really important. It goes hand in hand with that question everything, but there's an explanation for everything that you experience in the material world. The 3D dimension, what we're living in right now, this is the material world. There is an explanation for everything. This is not, this is not the 1100 BC. Like we're not calling, thunder and electricity gods over here. Okay, there's an explanation for everything that is happening in your life. Some people will say, "Oh, there's a reason for," but the reason why I don't want to say there's a reason for everything, and instead an explanation, is because reasons kind of have this implication of once again metaphysics, but an explanation kind of has this idea of it being based in reality. 9 times out of 10, if you're experiencing something, there's a good chance that there is a non-metaphysical and reality-based explanation for it, especially if you're someone born in this day and age where technology has advanced to the point where people can SIM swap and monitor your devices um, from the comfort of their own spaces. In this day and age where there's a growing cult of lonely, desperate people who will stop at nothing to once again invade your privacy. I've just seen some shit where it's just people really think that there's just some people who really think that they're these evil masterminds, or these people that really think that they I don't know, they're just people that act as vigilantes, and they want you to believe in magic. They want you to believe that they're a magician. They want you to believe in all these whimsical ideas, because if they can get you to believe in these whimsical ideas and they're the author of these whimsical ideas, then that means that they pretty much can ultimately control you. They've pretty much defined your reality. And if they've defined your reality, then who are you to question it? Like, and if you believe in a reality that they've defined, then they have control over your reality. They have control over you. And it's extremely important that you recognize, that you just explore the real world causes for as many things as possible, because honestly, there's an explanation for everything. I believe there's an explanation for everything just about everything that you experience in your physical body, in this, material world. But on the topic of worlds, something else that I've learned at 25 is that there are, or, on the topic of the immaterial world, and it's going to be very short, but, you do your own research. But there are levels to consciousness, and I think it would really benefit you if you mastered them or if you learned about them. And that's pretty much the whole point right there. There's levels to consciousness, learn about or master them. Next thing I've learned by 25, and that is that you will experience things. Everyone experiences something in life that traumatizes them, and when that happens, you need to do the work and heal, and make sure you don't become like those people that hurt you. Um, on this channel a lot, I talk about extremely covert and terrible forms of abuse that people can put you through, and if you don't do the work of healing yourself, if you don't do the work of feeling and of trying to get over that traumatic experience, you risk being trapped in a state of being that, first of all, is extremely just terrible. Like, being dysregulated is a horrible, being, physically dysregulated, emotionally and psychologically dysregulated. It's a very terrible way to live life. It's a very horrible thing. And there are people out here that want to traumatize you so that you don't, so that you're not a fully functioning human being. And they want to take away your function. They want to break you down. Um, and it's just important that when this happens to you, and it will happen, it's going to happen. Something traumatic is going to happen to everyone. And things that are traumatic differ by, what people have experienced in life. So what's traumatic to someone might not be traumatic to another person, and so on and so forth. But when you do have that experience, you need to do the work. You need to heal. Just do it. And when you've done it, and while you're doing it, it'll be hard, especially during the while part. Look into reactive abuse, but just make sure that at the end of your healing, or towards the end of your healing journey, you just really don't become like the people that hurt you. And this is what I talk about, agents of chaos a lot on this channel, because these are people that are, their whole job is to just stir up discord. Their whole job is to, just to spread as much pain and suffering as they can. They have this belief that if you traumatize someone enough, if you put them through shit enough, hey, maybe something good might happen. If nothing good happens, they deserve it. Like, there's just these people. There's just some really sick as fuck people in this world, and and if you become like them, all you're doing is just adding to the bullshit of this world. If you become like them, all you're doing is just shitting in the community well that we all drink from. Um, and this also goes back to my point of discipline and how there's certain people that have never known discipline in their life. And so when they see someone like you who where you just want to live a life with a bit more structure, you want to treat people a bit more humanely, you want to carry yourself a bit more humanely and things like that, they're going to get offended by that because, well, first of all, they don't have structure, they don't have discipline. The idea of spiritual or social discipline to them is, you know, to people that have never had discipline, or to people that that don't value discipline always in other people always looks like a threat. Like, to people that just don't know discipline are always threatened by it when they're in the presence of discipline. And if you ever tell them like, hey, you should get some discipline, they'll feel offended. And that's honestly points to their immaturity, their weakness, or not even just those things, but just, them being on a, well, yeah, being offended by, discipline. That does point to, a weakness, or, some type of internal lacking. But these people, the reason that they're hurting you so much is because they want you to become like them so that you can validate the fact that they want you to just validate why it is that they're such a shitty person. Everyone has a reason to be an asshole. And if you're like, you know what, I'm just not going to be an asshole, they're just like that. It kind of calls into question their behaviors. It kind of almost them witnessing you choosing to just elevate, or choosing to handle yourself with a bit more decorum and structure and discipline. It just reminds them of the fact that they could potentially be you, but they're choosing not to. It just shows them that they are consciously choosing not to. And yeah, it's just that can really that can lead to a whole host of things. You'd be surprised what people do when they feel jealous of you, or when just your very being makes someone feel intimidated. Like, when people are intimidated, they do some of the craziest shit. When people are jealous, they do some of the craziest shit. And that's kind of, if your trauma comes from a person, that's more than likely it's coming from someone who felt intimidated by you, or who felt jealous of you, and jealous of your potential, intimidated by your potential, intimidated by your self-assurance, intimidated by your discipline, intimidated by just your very being. And they won't call it that. But at the end of the day, people that are constantly sowing discord, people that are constantly, trying to fuck with others, like people that are just constantly like, they're not okay. No one who is happy, no one who is healthy, no one who is like that is constantly looking for someone to bully, constantly looking for someone to make feel like shit. Like, no one who is in a healthy place is doing that. The only people that are trying to make others feel like shit are people that feel like shit themselves. They will hide it behind this, that, and the third, this Instagram post, that smile, that new bag, that whatever. But at the end of the day, anyone trying to make you feel like shit, anyone trying to put you through shit, anyone doing anything like that, they feel like shit. They're not all there. They're not okay. Anyone that's, a bully, if you're being bullied by someone, they're not okay. They're just not okay. And you don't want to become like them, because trust me, you will get over whatever anyone puts you through. But when you are that sick person, like they have to live with themselves for the rest of their life. They have to live in their body for the rest of they have to be them for the rest of their life. You're going to go on, you're going to move on in life, you're going to heal, you're going to be fine. But they have to be themselves forever. If they don't ever, change, like they're stuck as themselves. And trust me, that is punishment enough. Like, you don't want to be these people. If you're someone who's dealing with gaslighting, or if you're someone who's being punished by people that are operating in an underground network, trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me. If you could see the people that are putting you through bullshit, if you could see your flying monkeys, if you could see the people that are trying to abuse you, you would not want to trade places with them. You really wouldn't. You wouldn't. They're losers. They really are. And my next point that I wanted to bring up that I've learned in my 25 years of life is your health is the greatest gift bestowed upon you, and you should prioritize it. And by your health, I mean your psychological health, I mean your physical health, your health. Prioritize your health, especially your body health. As a young person, we take for granted our bodies in the current state that they are. One of the harshest thing about, or one of the toughest, not toughest, but just one of those things about, one of the markers of youth is just this idea that you're just gonna, it's just easy to think that, once again, humans are bad at, long-term thinking. And it's just easy to think that you're always going to be in your current state. You're always going to look like how you look. You're always going to feel how you feel, and if you're not, you're going to just get better. But no, entropy is entropy, along with change, is kind of the state of all things in this material world. Everything decays, everything breaks down. And once your health is gone, like, there is no time when you finally start to think about all the things that matter in life. Nothing, what's the word I'm looking for? Nothing is more humbling. Nothing is more capable of nothing is more grounding than being in poor health. When you're in a hospital bedroom and you are like sick and you think you're going to die, like there is nothing, it's like the only thing you're thinking about at that point are just the time, like the good times, time you might have wasted, what you would have done. Like your health is so important. Prioritize it. Because you're going to break down. Your body's not going to be the way it is forever. And the level of independence that being in a fully functioning and healthy human body gives you, it's priceless. And while shit happens to us all, you just really want to make sure that you're not doing things to your body that are just going to speed up. They're just going to add on to the shit that life is just going to throw at your body in general. And speaking of health and things like that, another thing that I've learned at 25 that kind of segues from my last point is that you will die. And it's easy, once again, it's very convenient in youth to just kind of not think in the much long term, and to just kind of feel like even though you know for a fact that you're going to die, even though you know that everyone has before you has died, it's just not something that's always at the front of your mind. I mean, it doesn't have to be. I really don't think it has to be, but it's just something to really touch base on, something that you really want to, come to terms with, because it's easy to become complacent in life. It's easy to It's easy to get comfortable. It's easy to, not call your mom. It's easy to, you know, not take that trip, to not do this, that, and the third. And then, one day, you know, you don't have those options anymore. Um, and when that day comes for you and for others, it's just something that really just smacks you back to reality. Um, and you realize, you know, this is this is impermanent. Nothing's permanent. Appreciate it while it's here. Which leads me to another thing that I've learned in my 25 years of life, which is this is water. This is water. This is water. If you haven't listened to that speech by David Foster Wallace, I really recommend it. And along with that, The Egg by Andy Weir. Just some things in life you can only really experience. And those are two things that I just think that everyone should experience. Experience This Is Water for yourself. Experience reading The Egg by Andy Weir for yourself. And on that topic of options not always being there, at the end of the day, while the same options might not always be there, there's always a choice. The choices change, situations change, but at the end of the day, there's always a choice. And whenever you're given a choice, life is all about making decisions. It's all about choosing. Whenever you do make your decisions and whenever you do choose, it would really benefit you to one, recognize once again that in every situation there's a choice, and when you make that choice, to choose wisely. And of course, this isn't always possible. And when it's not possible, when you don't choose wisely, and you won't, there's going to be many instances where you don't make the wise decision. It's important to practice compassion with yourself and others. Other people won't always make wise decisions. You won't always make wise decisions. That's life. And you want compassion when you make mistakes. You want compassion and understanding when you aren't so wise, as you will be, and as you were. And you should extend that grace, that compassion, to others when they aren't so wise. And there's a difference between not being wise and being an abusive shit log. Um, so yeah. Um, and last but not least, this is where I want to end this video off on one of the next lessons, or one of my favorite lessons that I've learned in life, is that you can start over at any time, anywhere. There is no time limit on. There's a time limit, of your life, but as long as you are alive, you have the ability to change circumstances. As long as you are alive, you have the ability to start over on whatever it is you're doing as many times as you want to. You don't have to be stuck with any result or in any situation for eternity. As long as you're alive, like you can start over. Now it's easy to abuse that, and become complacent. But it's better to know that than to not know it. It's better to know that you can start over at any age, any time. You're never too old. You're never too young. It's okay. You can start over. You didn't get that degree you wanted. It's okay. Start over. You were trying for the marathon, then you stop working out. Okay, start over. Failure isn't a sentence. Failure isn't final. There's very few things that are final in this life. And you can start over whenever you want to. So yeah, I hope you take those with you and just really know them, because they've benefited, this knowledge, this wisdom has benefited me in my life. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and continue to apply it. And that's what I've learned. Those are 25 plus things that I've learned at 25.